So, disclaimer, I don't know what I'm doing here, but obviously I'm tree trimming, but I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to tree trimming. So I try to do some research on how to trim apple trees. It's quite the art. A lot of complicated decision making going on and stuff like that. So I kind of boiled it down to like two or three hard and fast rules. If the branch is growing down or in, I cut it off. If the branches are overlapping, I cut it off. If there's any noticeable damage on the branch, we cut that off also. You're supposed to trim about 30% off of each tree every year. That's at least that's what I heard. I think on this tree here, I'm probably gonna do a little bit more than 30%. I've had this property now for about a year and a half, and I've never trimmed this tree, and I think it really needed it last year, anyways. So we're gonna go pretty aggressive with trimming all these branches off. Um, I just got this new ARS saw. Last year I used Lowe's, like a cheap Lowe's one. I ended up losing it. It worked out okay. Did its job. But when after doing some research fair, I'd get something a little bit nicer. You can get some pretty cheap gardening tools out of Japan, and everybody really likes them. So the brand ARS, this one has a nice little locking mechanism on the back. I'm kind of enjoying that. It's real smooth too. So I'll probably keep using their stuff moving forward. But I'm probably from here. I'm just kind of going around clockwise around the tree, looking for, like I said, any branches that are growing down or overlapping. This tree has a lot of overlapping branches, and on the right side there, it was really a mangled mess. So I didn't want to look at it just yet. I figured start on the easier side there on the left, and work my way around, and just kind of doing big cuts. I think too on this day it was like 30, 30 some degrees. It was like 35 degrees or something like that. Just below above freezing. It's so damn cold. I'm getting back into that mess again, and I just don't want to deal with it. So I keep going back and forth. I'm kind of working my way up the tree again. It's hard to see on the video just how tangled all those branches are. For people who aren't familiar with the Pacific Northwest, a lot of our trees have moss growing on them. And from my understanding, the moss doesn't harm the tree in any way. It just grows up the tree and doesn't doesn't hurt it in any way or anything like that. So all these trees will have tons of moss on them. It's kind of I like the aesthetic that it brings. You kind of see me stepping back here, trying to get a lay of the what I've cut, what still needs to be cut. I'm also trying to be careful of the trees growing into each other. Last year, they both had fungus that killed the fruit production, and there's a potential that one tree may not have it. And I try to minimize that by cutting where the branches are trying to grow into each other's trees.
How tricky is it to identify these branches that are worth chopping or worth cutting or not worth cutting? How tricky is it?
Sometimes it's really easy, right? Like some branches will grow directly over each other, and so you just pick the one that looks the healthiest. Like maybe it's the thicker one that if it grows some fruit, it's not going to break or something of that nature, right? I'll cut that one. Like I'll just pick one and cut it, and it's real easy. Also, ones that are real small, cutting growing straight down. You'll see later on. I'm just kind of going around trimming those with shears. Those are super easy. But then the really hard ones is because I don't know how long these trees have been here. I don't know what the intention was with whoever trimmed it before. There's definitely some intent like there's definitely some intended trimming that's been done here, and it's growing in a like almost like a spiral shape if you were to look down it. But I don't know what that trimming technique is. So whenever they stop taking care of it, the branches have started growing across each other, and there's some big ones. You can kind of see it at the base there. There's two big branches crossing each other, and I don't want to cut half the tree down just to prevent that branch from crossing each other. So that's a big part of why I keep going back and forth, and I'm not sure what to do with this corner here. And I'm only doing small cuts at this point because I don't know. And so I figure if I do small cuts and cut the small pieces off as I start to see openings in the tree, I'll know where to cut. And the main goal here is to open up the inside of the tree, get some airflow going. It'll help the tree focus on growing specific smaller amounts of fruit, but bigger, plumper pieces of fruit. It'll also allow the branches that are left will get thicker and stronger, for next season and stuff like that. So the this is really just trying to keep the tree healthy. Um, I just am so inexperienced with it that takes me a while. You can see here I'm really indecisive. This is where I'm stuck because I can see those two branches are growing. They both have almost the same amount of growth on them. They both look like good candidates to keep, and I'm just really not sure. So I'm kind of going through. There were some branches that I'd left because they were kind of hard to get out. I'm going and pulling those all out now. Just really trying to get a view of what's the best piece to cut. And in the end, I don't really decide. I trimmed up a lot of the small stuff off of them, and I figure I'll come back again next year and cut one of them. This branch gives me so much trouble. I cut it and it got wedged between some higher up branches, and I just couldn't. It took me forever to get it out. It's also starting to get dark here, so it's a little bit harder to see what it is I'm cutting. Uh, so I really wanted to get this done because it's the start of spring. I really should have gotten it done in February, but now we're in March, going into April, and it's raining really heavily. But I need to get the tree trimmed, so I'm out here again another day, confused about that same spot. I really don't know what to do with those two branches. I'll have to take a picture of it. Something I haven't quite figured out yet is, I'm gonna figure out this season, I guess, is when the apples grow, and I've left long branches because there's some pretty long branches out there, and if I've left the long branches, will the apples break the branch? I'm hoping the branches will be solid enough, but we'll unfortunately have to find out during the season. Yeah, this is one of those moments where I cut. I'd been trimming that branch back, and then as I was walking around, I realized it just wasn't needed. It was either growing across something, or I noticed that there was other parts of the tree that were going to grow to fill that space, and so I just cut that out. Here I am again, finally getting some of those big ass branches out of there. And at this point too, I'm noticing that because I can get the ladder up inside the center of it and stand up inside, that the center is looking pretty good, right? That means that airflow can get up in there, and we can hopefully prevent that fungus from setting in again this year. So here I'm pretty much done with that first tree. I'm just gonna clean up my mess. You can see how much I cut off that tree. There was just a ton, and it's been about a couple weeks since I've done the tree trimming now, and the trees do look like they're doing okay. The leaves are coming in just fine. So hopefully I still get a fruit production out of it. Sometimes if you cut fruit trees and bushes too aggressively, they won't produce any fruit because they're too busy trying to heal from all the cuts you did. But I think we'll be okay this season. Picked up this gorilla cart on sale. I do like it. It's just kind of small for some of this stuff. It's just a little hard to balance everything. Here I'm just going back with the trimming shears and just cutting off all the small branches. I'm also at this point there is, because I was so late to the trimming, there is some new growth starting to come out here. So if any of the new growth is getting a little long, I'm cutting that back as well. Just kind of stop it from again just making these long branches even longer than they already are. And a reminder, I have no clue if I'm doing the right thing with any of this stuff. It's just kind of guesstimating and hoping that I got it right.
These small cuts that you're making, or you're
Um,
not sure, you're just like doing the best thing you can figure out for now.
no, I think all of the mm, I try to take the approach that everything has an intention, right? So the initial cuts I was doing going around, those are all small branches that are starting to grow and grow downwards, most of them. And so I just want to trim all those so that the tree doesn't try to grow leaves and potentially fruit down there, making that branch that's growing downwards even bigger, right? Because it's going to keep getting bigger and stronger as it grows more stuff. This part is actually pretty important too. So I moved from the top down to the bottom. And what I'm doing at the bottom here is actually trimming all the oh goodness, I can't remember the name of them, but they're essentially little sprouts that are coming out of the ground, and this is coming off the tree's roots. And it usually happens because the tree's like struggling to I guess get the light. I probably shouldn't speak on it because I don't know fully, but it does to take away from the nutrients of the tree building itself up. So you cut all those back, and it'll allow the tree to focus on growing its main trunk and main branches instead of growing those little shoots.
Are the roots that you were talking about, the tiny ones, weeds or something different?
Oh no. Yeah, that's it's not the root itself. It's a shoot off the main tree, and it's coming out of the tree's roots, right? And so they're growing straight up, and it's also growing off the main branch, main trunk off the bottom there too. So all of those things are just going to detract from the tree putting the nutrients and the all of its energy into growing the main branches you've designated as where you want your fruit to grow. I trimmed that one last year because that's when I noticed last year, way too late in the season. I noticed that the fungus was on there, and I trimmed this tree back pretty heavily. I tried to open up the center, see if we couldn't get the fungus to go away, but again, I didn't know very much about it, so the fungus did ultimately set in, and I just kind of left it at that point. So this one doesn't need as much trimming, but I do need to um, come back and clean up because every year you should potentially do that. And I think that's something that I found out when I started doing research on the tree trimming, is that apparently if you let the tree grow naturally, it'll figure itself out and it'll grow mostly just fine without any trimming. And then, but if you go in and start trimming it, now you have to trim it kind of for life because you've altered its like natural state, if you will. And this one actually, it's really hard to see on the video, but the middle, so they split it into like three trunks there, and the middle one actually cuts straight through the middle of the tree, and it makes the trimming really difficult because that's essentially one big branch that overlaps two other ones, right? Which goes against one of the rules I made for myself. But I'm not going to cut a third of the a third of the tree off, you know. So I'm trying to work around it.
So I'm curious, what made you want to keep the apple trees instead of just like getting rid of them? Or, well, that's been one question of mine. And the other question has been, uh, what made you just tackle it altogether?
Tackle what? Trimming the
Tackle
tree
the
or
trimming of the tree, instead of just, calling it like, okay, you'll just grow something else over there, or getting rid of the tree, or anything like
hmm.
that.
Yeah. The no, the main the when I bought the property, it was kind of nice because there was already there's a blueberry farm. There's apple trees in the back. Behind those two trees, there's two pear trees. Uh, you can kind of see all the blackberry bushes growing way back there in the river there. But there's just tons of stuff growth already there, and so it was nice to have an established ecosystem, I guess, if you will. And my even though I have a feeling I don't like, I think these are crab apples, which I don't like, but I'm gonna keep maintaining the tree. There's no reason to cut it down and kill it just because I don't like it. I also am not the biggest fan of blueberries. I've started to enjoy them more now that I get them straight from the bush, but it's never been something I've enjoyed before getting this property. But I still maintain an acre of blueberries, you know, best I can. And I think that's part of being a responsible steward of the land. You know, there's stuff here that is growing and thriving and doing its best, and it's my job to provide for it as much as possible. And then why do the tree trimming at all? Just because it needs to be done. Otherwise, the tree's going to die anyways because it's just going to suffocate itself from all the mess. It's kind of crazy when you're. It's really hard to see in the video because you're seeing it almost like a 2D. But when you're in there, I really wish I knew what their intent was, and maybe there was a video on it explaining why they did that route. But it it's like a organized chaos, if you will. That you can see there's a pattern, but it's all over the place. So I'm just trying to do my best with this one, and I hope that I don't kill the trees. But there is a potential. I think if there's multiple seasons where I'm having to spend a lot of work on it, it's just constantly getting diseased. We don't use the fruit, things like that. I will probably end up cutting them down, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Are there farmlands nearby you that have these trees as well, like apple trees that you can like take? Uh,
Oh, the other probably is.
okay.
Uh, the I if there was something that I was really interested in, like I really had a deep interest in apple trees, I'd definitely visit one of their farms and study it. But I'm kind of in this phase right now where I still am kind of in discovering for myself what I want to do with things and how to do stuff. And I think that if I were to go there and ask, somebody who's been doing it for decades, the information would kind of be lost on me because I wouldn't fully understand what they're talking about. I would just kind of have to take notes and then maybe next year I would know what they're talking about if I reviewed my notes. But even then, I don't think it'd be too valuable. So there's definitely, I don't want to say that the information they provide is not valuable. It 100% would be valuable. I just would not be experienced enough to utilize that information.
Right, so you want to get some kind of like pain points that you can discuss with them or understand them, instead of just like, what should I do? Oh, this, and then like, oh well, I haven't even come across anything like that.
Yeah, because it's just like anything else in life, right? If you haven't experienced it or you don't have any anything to relate to what they're talking about. It's hard for you to, put that in your
Yeah,
brain and
you're
store
trying
it
to
for
build a
later.
frame of reference.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
Something I am looking back at the video now, I'm kind of appreciating is when uh, I take small cuts, small cuts, small cuts, and then I take a big cut. I think at first I was trying too hard to like plan out the shape of the tree too early, and doing those small cuts, even though it may seem like a waste of time if you're gonna cut the whole branch off, it helps you really reassess. Is it worth taking the big? Because once you take the big branch off, you can't put it back on, right? So that's I'm kind of enjoying this aspect of it. It's taken a lot longer to trim this one, even though it has less trimming, but the trimming is much more purposeful. Sometimes I'm still not sure about the length thing. So you might have been able to catch it. I'm like holding one branch and kind of following it up, and then I'm looking at another branch and following it up to where it meets with the main branch, and kind of comparing which one of the two I should keep and stuff of that nature. Um, I just really hope you can see, and the branch is just wobbling there. I really hope that it's gonna do okay with as the apples grow in. My wife comes out with our son, and says hi. Unless she realized I was recording. Oh, something I'm noticing on both of the trees at the top, it looks like there's branches that are competing to be, um, I forget the proper term for it, but essentially it's looking for a main trunk of the tree. And by the way they trimmed the tree before and designed it, there is no branch. It's the main trunk. And so you'll get these shoots that go up, and then the tree is trying to make it the main trunk, And so you'll end up with these offshoots that are competing for that, going straight up. Um, I'm not entirely sure which ones to be cutting back, but I tried to keep it with just one going straight up that will hopefully branch out a little bit at the top there. I'm just trying to get this done as soon as possible because I actually had to stop other projects because it was getting I was taking too long to get to the trimming, and I didn't want the trees to grow any more new growth and possibly shock them any more than I already am. Thank you for watching. I just let this play out, and I'll see you guys next time.